Well, friends, I just may have done it. I may have just found the dumbest Star Wars article ever. I mean, I've read a lot of terrible Star Wars articles, but this one just may take the cake. I'm going to give you just a little sample. A little sample. The latest Star Wars film satisfies the right wing. Will the left start trolling? That's right. Don't expect a new fandom menace to emerge this time around. Well, that's obviously incorrect. This article was written on Friday, January 18th, and the fact of the matter is, most of the fandom menace didn't care for The Rise of Skywalker. And in fact, I saw more negative press around The Rise of Skywalker than I ever saw around The Last Jedi. Although, I suppose it was pretty big. The Last Jedi was pretty big. But this backlash is not insignificant either. Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, leaves theaters soon. Critical reception was middling. Box office reception receipts collapsed, ending below those of The Last Jedi and Rogue One. But right-wing trolling of the film was mild compared to the backlash against The Last Jedi. The latest movie avoided that ire by moving Star Wars politically right. What? And of course, here's Bethany, who is an associate professor at a university. Congratulations. Writing an article for the Washington Post called How the Rise of Skywalker Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Alt-Right Star Wars Trolls by Me. The Rise of Skywalker is going to make or has crossed the $1 billion mark by this point. That's a lot of people in the alt-right. I like how she titles it Analysis. Of course, being absolutely destroyed by Data Racer with this reply. Bethany, I used to think you were a vicious liar. Now I'm convinced you're just extremely foolish, and I feel sorry for you. Here are some tweets from the, quote, SJW Star Wars fandom calling out their own folks for harassing JJ prior to my post. This is the second time you've outright lied in the Washington Post, and it's sad. You see here in this article, a Fandom Menace account manufactured, they're talking about Data Racer, by the way. Raylos were sending all sorts of threats to the Rise of the Skywalker director. Another troll used a temporary account, a sock puppet, to provoke one of the Rise of the Skywalker stars, John Boyega. And then here's plenty of examples. I want JJ's head on a platter. F you, JJ Abrams. JJ Abrams, I'm going to end you. I mean, we already talked about this. F you, JJ Abrams. A lightsaber with the Force so I can end JJ Abrams. You see unending examples of this. It wasn't manufactured, right? He goes on. You also accused Ethan Van Sciver of getting Chuck Wendig fired because people probably found Wendig's tweets via EVS. No, Bethany. Chuck got himself fired. And all of Twitter saw it. This was the most laughable thing I saw in 2018. Example, James Woods and his 2.1 million followers. Here's a tweet. Friday, Chuck Wendig lost his contract with Marvel and Star Wars because of his Twitter. His mistakes were to attract sketchy Twitter, probably Ethan Van Sciver. This graph is tweets from reply to Wendig before and after his civility tweets. But here you have James Wood retweeting Chuck Wendig, who at the time said, "Winter is coming, you callous Fs." This was some sort of Drumpf tweet, I believe. And then you had Ben Shapiro tweet it, saying, "Sir, this is a White Castle." There is unending evidence that, of course, Bethany is full of malarkey. And if you look at the article, So has Lucasfilm replaced its alt-right troll problem with a left-wing one? Probably not. Compared to the previous film, Tross slighted fans with less visibility in fandom media and fewer ways to monetize their criticisms. I don't know. I feel like first of all, the implication here is that people are only criticizing Star Wars for money. I'll have you know, many of my videos make no money at all. I'm sure I can I'm sure I'm not stepping out of line when I talk about other members of the Fandom Menace who are more active and cover this. They aren't always getting those juicy ads that apparently the Washington Post get either. Right-wing anger. After The Last Jedi, an online campaign took issue with the film's feminism, leftism, and diverse casting. This right-wing critique was so durable that it has a nickname, the Fandom Menace, which even Lucasfilm uses. Anger at The Last Jedi became a business. Popular anti-TLJ videos on YouTube have millions of hits, translating to tens of thousands of dollars for its creators. Right-wing personalities sell Fandom Menace apparels. Entrepreneurs raised $50,000 in seed money for an anti-The Last Jedi comic book and almost $10,000 for a multi-volume history of the Fandom Menace. What about any of this is wrong, by the way? And what about any of this indicates any of the people doing it are right-wing? This is such a weird criticism that I don't understand. This is the same thing that I get, like, let me give you a little example. I helped cover a situation where an artist was getting their work ripped off. They dared to retweet my tweet, and their mentions were full of people like, oh, not this guy. He's a far-right Trump supporter. First of all, I don't really talk about any of my politics online at all. I think if you've watched enough of my videos, you know kind of where I stay, but you don't know. And certainly I wouldn't consider myself pro-Trump or a pro-any politician. And it's so sad when people just, that's their whole argument. And so what if I was anyway? It doesn't invalidate my opinion. It doesn't make my work less valuable. It doesn't make my opinions any less valid. Did I just say that twice? I might have said that twice. Oh well, no editors for this video. Many observers see The Rise of Skywalker as an apology to TLJ haters. Of the 53 Tross reviews by top critics, archived on Rotten Tomatoes as of January 15th, 44 described their movie as a reversal intended to win over fans that initially liked The Last Jedi. Well, this is one thing that's very true, obviously. Critics always hate fan service. They strongly hate anything that makes fandoms happy, and that's part of this. But again, fan service is not an inherently right-wing or left-wing thing. In fact, if I were trying to, I don't know, sell tickets to a movie, I'd probably want to please my fans. But that's just me. That's probably a wild concept to people that generally live 7 people to a studio apartment with 6 cats and a hamster. One critic illustrated with a list of the Rise of Skywalker moments that undermine TLJ's commitment to diversity. For example, Tross explains that certain feats by women in TLJ were only possible because of help of men or sheer luck. Despite all the left-wing trolling campaigns against Tross is unlikely. Despite all of this, left-wing trolling campaigns against Tross are unlikely. Well, that's incorrect. We know that's true. We've seen the tweets. Fandom politics of the nature of the internet media will probably curb the anti-Tross backlash. Again, I point out, Data Racer cataloging hundreds of tweets of people psychotically tweeting after J.J. Abrams. Just a ridiculous lie. The most viable Star Wars fan media is made by white men. For example, until 2018, the Star Wars website included links to fan podcasts, of which I collected for past research. 38 of the 56 had male hosts. So, more men like Star Wars than women. That's a fact. Only one had a person of color as a host. Again, so? Sci-fi films were never that big in the black community. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. But certainly there's literally nothing holding back people from covering Star Wars if they are of color, if they are melanin enabled or whatever. In fact, they'd probably be welcomed and promoted more easily than anybody else. Just saying. Some of the fandom media outlets supported the TLJ backlash. For example, Rebel Force One Radio and one of the oldest outlets pivoted to cater to right-wing audience. See, there's this common misconception too with the small-brained, and that is that if you oppose like forced diversity, or if you oppose social justice warriors, that you're right-wing. I've never considered myself right-wing, and I know there are a lot of people that feel the same way. Look, there are plenty of reasons to not like people that talk like this, and none of them have anything to do with who I vote for. It's generally just not wanting to interact with people that I think either purposely misrepresent facts or don't understand them. I don't have any time for liars. I don't have any time for the intellectually dishonest. And none of that has anything to do with who I cast my vote for. And I bet you there's a lot more people like that than you think. Right-wing anti-TLJ content was helped along by non-Star Wars media as well. Dismay with TLJ was part of coverage of right-wing cultural grievances in outlets such as The Federalist and National Review by alt-right influencers, including Ben Shapiro and Jack Posobiec. He's an alt. You just call Ben Shapiro alt-right? You're joking, right? Bullying the detractors. There is no comparable left-wing media ecosystem where antitrust feeling can thrive and be monetized to the same extent. Twitter? Are you joking, right? You don't think YouTube is a left-wing ecosystem? The Last Jedi backlash included extensive online trolling of The Last Jedi's defenders. By contrast, since TROS, the major trolling incidents have targeted fans who were disappointed by the film. A Phantom Menace account manufactured a hoax claiming Reylos were sending threats to the TROS director. Again, that's not a hoax. We've shown the evidence. That's really disgusting. I mean, Bethany, you are a teacher, a molder of minds, and you are so willing to openly lie, even in the face of being obviously discredited. All right? So when I tweet out, this video won't send a notification, but if you go over to my Twitter account, it'll be my pinned tweet for the time or one of the last two, and it'll talk about, it'll be this video. Make sure you leave a comment and a like on this video, and you share that tweet, I'm sorry. Sure would be awful if we were able to discredit Bethany Lucina so easily. I'll be replying to her with my video as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.